Some roads in America are so empty. People say if you scream out there, nobody hears you. But on Route 50, sometimes something hears you back. And if a stranger asks for a ride in the middle of the desert at 2 a.m., you keep driving. Because some hitchhikers were never meant to reach their destination. Jack Turner had been driving for almost 6 hours straight. The highway stretched endlessly through the Nevada desert like a black scar across the earth. No cities, no gas stations, no lights, just darkness and dead silence. People called it the loneliest road in America for a reason. Jack hated this route, but night deliveries paid more money. And right now, money was the only thing keeping his life from collapsing. At 24, he was drowning in student debt, late rent notices, and endless anxiety. During the day, he attended community college in Reno. At night, he delivered food and packages across remote highways nobody else wanted to drive. Tonight's final order was strange from the start. The address simply read, Old Miller Estate, Route 50. No city, no zip code, just coordinates. Jack almost rejected the order, but the payout was enormous. $300 for a single late-night delivery. That was grocery money for 2 weeks. So he accepted. Rain began hitting the windshield as he drove deeper into the desert. Static crackled softly through the radio. Then, the signal died completely. Jack sighed. Perfect. His GPS arrow continued moving across an empty gray map. No nearby roads. No towns. Nothing. Just endless desert. After another 20 minutes, the GPS spoke in its robotic voice. You have arrived. Jack slowed the van and frowned. There was nothing there. No house, no gate, no driveway. Only black dirt and the burned remains of what looked like a foundation. The skeleton of a house. Long dead. Jack stepped out carefully. Cold wind swept across the desert. The air smelled like wet ashes. He looked around with his flashlight. Broken bricks, collapsed beams, rotting wood. The place looked like it had burned down decades ago. Jack checked the order again. Old Miller Estate. This had to be a mistake. Then his phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. I'm at the front door. Why are you standing in the dirt? Jack froze. He slowly looked up. Nothing. Only ruins. Another message arrived. You're late, Jack. His stomach tightened. How did they know his name? He typed quickly. There's no house here. 3 dots appeared instantly. Then, look through the camera. Jack stared at the message. Rain intensified around him. Thunder rolled across the desert. His pulse began pounding in his ears. Slowly, he opened the camera app on his phone and aimed it toward the ruins. Jack stopped breathing. The burned foundation was gone. On the screen stood a massive Victorian mansion, perfectly untouched. Warm golden lights glowed through tall windows. Smoke drifted from the chimney. A porch swing moved gently in the wind. It looked alive. Real. Jack lowered the phone. Ruins. He raised it again. The mansion returned. Every detail crystal clear. Lightning flashed overhead. For a split second, Jack thought he saw movement behind one of the upstairs windows. Someone watching him. Another message appeared. Come to the door. Jack backed away. Nope. He turned toward his van. But the engine wouldn't start. The headlights flickered weakly, then died. The desert became silent again. Except for one thing. Footsteps. Slow footsteps. Coming from the ruins. Jack looked up. Through his phone screen. The front door of the mansion slowly creaked open. A tall shadow stood inside. Waiting. Jack's breathing became shallow. The figure raised one long arm, inviting him closer. Then the phone speaker crackled with a distorted voice. Jack. It sounded wrong. Like multiple people speaking together. You brought my order. Jack dropped the phone. The screen shattered against the dirt. Darkness. Silence. Then, a hand touched his shoulder. Jack spun around violently. Nobody. His flashlight beam shook across the empty ruins. Then he heard laughter. Soft. Distant. Coming from everywhere at once. The wind suddenly carried another sound. Music. Old piano music. somewhere inside the invisible mansion. Jack grabbed the broken phone again. The screen still worked. Barely. And the mansion was still there. But now something had changed. Dozens of people stood behind the windows. Motionless silhouettes. Watching him. None of them moved. None of them blinked. Jack whispered, "What the hell is this place?" Then a final message appeared. "Come inside." The front door slowly opened wider, and the shadows inside shifted. Jack knew every horror movie rule ever made. Do not go inside. But another part of him, the desperate, exhausted part, needed answers. So against every instinct, he stepped forward. The closer he got, the colder the air became. His breath fogged. The phone screen flickered violently. Static covered the image. For one terrifying second, the mansion disappeared, revealing charred corpses standing where the guests had been. Then the image returned to normal. Jack reached the front porch. Except, there was no porch beneath his real feet. Only dirt, ashes, ruined stone. But through the phone camera, he was standing on polished wooden steps. Reality itself felt broken. The door creaked open wider, and the shadow waiting inside finally stepped forward. A woman, tall, pale, wearing a black dress burned at the edges. Her face was impossible to focus on. Every time Jack looked directly at her, her features changed slightly. Different eyes, different mouth, different smile. Like multiple faces trying to exist at once. "You're late," she whispered. Jack forced himself to speak. "What is this place?" The woman tilted her head unnaturally. "This is home." Her voice echoed strangely, like an old recording. Jack looked past her into the mansion. People filled the hallway. Men in old suits. Women in elegant dresses. Children standing silently beside staircases. None of them moved. They simply stared at him, waiting. The woman extended one pale hand. "The order." Jack slowly lifted the delivery bag. The receipt attached to it suddenly caught his attention. He hadn't checked the customer name before. Now he did, and his blood turned cold. Customer name, Jack Turner. Jack stumbled backward. "No." The woman smiled wider. "You ordered this years ago." "What? You just don't remember yet." Thunder exploded overhead. The lights inside the mansion flickered, and suddenly, Jack saw himself standing among the people inside. Another version of himself. Pale, still, dead-eyed, wearing the same clothes he had on right now. The duplicate smiled. Jack's entire body went numb. "This isn't real." The woman stepped closer. "Oh, it is." Her voice became softer. "Everyone arrives eventually." Jack turned and ran. He sprinted across the ruins toward the van. Behind him, the sound of dozens of footsteps followed. Not fast, not chasing, just walking calmly, like they knew he couldn't escape. Jack jumped into the driver's seat and twisted the key. Nothing. The windshield suddenly fogged from the inside. And slowly, words appeared across the glass. "You were expected." Jack screamed and wiped the fog away. The radio burst to life with violent static. Then came voices, whispering, hundreds of whispers overlapping, all saying the same thing. "Stay.
Stay. Stay. Stay." Jack slammed his fist against the steering wheel. The engine suddenly roared alive. Headlights exploded on. For one brief second, the lights illuminated the ruins, and Jack saw them. Dozens of figures standing in the ashes. Watching silently, the woman stood closest, smiling. Jack floored the accelerator. The van shot onto the highway. He didn't look back, didn't stop driving, didn't breathe normally for almost an hour. Finally, civilization appeared ahead. A gas station glowing beneath fluorescent lights. Jack nearly cried from relief. He parked beside the pumps and stumbled inside. The old cashier looked up calmly. "You look like you saw a ghost." Jack tried laughing, but couldn't. "Yeah, something like that." The cashier studied him carefully. "Where you coming from?" "Old Miller Estate." The cashier's expression vanished instantly. Silence filled the store. Then the old man whispered, "That place burned down in 1978. Jack felt ice spread through his chest. The cashier continued quietly. Whole family died in the fire. Jack shook his head slowly. No, there were people there. The cashier stared at him for a long moment, then asked, "Did they invite you inside?" Jack said nothing. The old man looked terrified now. "My brother picked up a hitchhiker near that road back in '96. Jack's throat tightened. He started seeing things after that. What happened to him? The cashier looked toward the dark highway outside. He disappeared. Rain hammered the windows harder. Jack suddenly remembered something. The hitchhiker, hours earlier, before the delivery, the midnight delivery. A man standing alone beside Route 50. Jack had almost forgotten. Pale face, dark coat, strange smile. Jack had stopped for him, only for a few minutes. The man barely spoke during the ride, but before getting out, he had looked directly at Jack and said, "They've been waiting for you." Jack slowly reached for his phone. The cracked screen flickered weak.